In Chapter 8, we're dealing with what's called plane geometry. Now, a plane is well, you can see the definition here, a two-dimensional set of points. Think of a plane as well, it's perfectly flat and extends on forever. So think of a piece of paper that, that is, that goes on forever in all the different directions, or a wall, a nice flat wall that goes up and down and left and right forever in all those directions. So, the first thing we're going to talk about in plane geometry is called angles, and how we measure angles, or well, first how we identify angles. We have what's called the vertex of the angle. So this angle, where these two lines meet, right here, they meet at a vertex B. Vertex is the point of intersection here. We call that a vertex. These two lines here we call the sides of the angle. So in any case, you can identify this particular angle in a couple of different ways. You can call it angle ABC. So it's starting with this vertex over here, ABC, or equivalently, you could go the other direction. You could go CBA. That would be one way to identify, or I guess you could call that two different ways to identify that particular angle. It's one kind of style of identification, though. If you just said angle B, that's not ambiguous at all in this particular example. There's only one angle that B could be referring to. That's not always going to be the case, though, because if you had two lines intersecting like this, and maybe that was vertex B, then in this instance, saying angle B would not be, it wouldn't be something you'd want to do. You'd want to, if you had other vertices along here, let's say you wanted to refer to this angle right here, well, you'd have to refer to that as angle ABE. That would probably be the easiest way, or EBA, I suppose, would also refer to that same angle. But you wouldn't want to call that ABC or ABD or anything like that, because those would be referring to different angles. ABC would be kind of that angle right there, if you want to think of that. ABD would be this angle right here. So another way we can refer to the angle is if we have the drawing and we have, this is a theta. That's what that symbol is. It's a Greek letter, theta. So you might refer to it as angle theta. This is not referring to the actual vertex. If we use the B here, this is actually referring to that vertex. But in this case, when we use the Greek letter theta, we're typically talking about a specific angle. All right. When we're measuring these angles, we typically use what are called degrees, and the degree is defined as 1/360th of a full rotation. So if you have a full rotation, that would be 360 degrees. So thus a quarter of that rotation, if you only went to here, that would end up being 90 degrees, and so on. Most people are fairly familiar with, let's see, that would be 90 degrees right there. Most people are fairly familiar with degrees already. 180 degrees would be a half rotation. That would look like this. There are other units we end up using for talking about angles, measuring angles, but we're not getting into that quite yet. We'll be using something called radians. There's also another type of unit called gradians that we won't be using at all in this class.